Good afternoon. My name is Michael Miskell. I am the Senior Patrol Leader of Troop 29, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to today's Eagle Scout Court of Honor. Now I'd like to introduce the Scouts of Troop 29. I would like to present Eagle candidate Nick Jones and his parents, Kurt and Lori Jones, escorted by Eagle Scouts Matt Gerard and Colin Hagan. Now will everyone please rise for the presentation of the colors. Color Guard, please present the colors, Scout salute, and hand over heart. Post. Could Patrick George please come forward to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Everyone except the Scouts may be seated. Could Adrian George please come forward and lead us in the Scout Oath? Do my duty, to God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to follow the people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight. Could Tim Pettit please lead us in the Scout law? A Scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Could Ian Newman please lead us in the outdoor code? As an American, I'll do my best to be clean in my outdoor manners, to be careful with fires, to be considerate of the outdoors, to be conservation-minded. You may be seated. Okay. Once again, I'd like to welcome you all to Nick Jones Eagle Scout Court of Honor, and it's my pleasure to introduce Scoutmaster Steve George, who is the Master of Ceremonies of this Court of Honor.
Thank you, Michael. My name is Steve George, and I'm the Scoutmaster of Troop 29 and the Master of Ceremonies for today's Eagle Court of Honor to celebrate the achievements and accomplishments of Nick Jones. It is my pleasure to introduce Seth Anderson, who will lead us in our invocation.
Lord, you bring us together this afternoon to honor an Eagle Scout. We acknowledge your guidance in helping boys and adults work together to build strong character, physical fitness, ethical leadership, and an appreciation of the outdoors. Lord, continue to watch over these boys as they grow into young men and give the adults the patience and wisdom to guide them. Amen.
I would now like to call forward the Scouts participating in the candle lighting ceremony.
Eagle Scout candidate Nick Jones, please come forward. This is the voice of the eagle. The eagle whose heights you have struggled hard to reach. We remember when you first came to the base of the cliff and how you built up with ambition and determination. Look back for a moment. Look down the cliff you have climbed. Look at the experiences you have encountered in your ascent. These experiences will not be forgotten. You should profit by making sure adverse experiences do not occur again. Experience is a valuable teacher, if you heed its teachings. You remember when you took your first step on the trail that leads upward. With that first step, you began to grow physically, mentally, and morally. You started living the scout hope and law. All the while you were on the trail, we watched you study and we saw you learn by doing. Upon joining, you were only a scout. At that time, you began working hard on your requirements to reach the tenderfoot rank, the first pledge on the trail to the eagle. Before long, your brother scouts were calling you a tenderfoot, and they were right. You were indeed a tenderfoot scout. Soon, you reached the second ledge, and there you were greeted by a large group of second-class scouts. Some, like you, stopped to catch their breath before continuing along the trail. You began to study more, you worked harder, and almost before you knew it, you came to another ledge, the ledge where the first-class scouts dwell. There you found a tempting green meadow by a crystal clear stream bathed in the sun. There you were tempted to remain. Yes, you could have remained there to live the first-class scout glory, but your ambition spurred you on. You remember your advancement to Star Scout. The trail from first class to star rank was not as difficult as it had seemed. This spurred you on, and again you climbed higher. The trail was steeper and less worn. Fewer scouts seemed to be heading in your direction. You looked down and saw the crowds below you. You looked up and saw a few above you. And with the same determination with which you started your climb, you continued up the trail. Soon you earned the badge of life rank. The heart badge was your mind develop and your wisdom increase. We have watched all these things in you, and now that you are at the threshold of your goal, we welcome you. For you have done your planning in a true scout-like manner. Soon you reach the end of the trail and stood amongst the eagles at the summit. This is the voice of the eagle.
Nick will now take the Eagle Scout charge. As the candidate takes the charge for the first time, will those Eagle Scouts who are present in the audience please stand and reaffirm their charge? Would those of you in attendance also introduce yourself and when you received your Eagle rank? Thank you. Please raise your right hands with the Scout sign and repeat after me. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to God. On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty to my country. I reaffirm my allegiance to the three promises of the Scout Oath. I thoughtfully recognize and take upon myself the obligations and responsibilities of the rank of Eagle Scout. On my honor, I will do my best to make my training an example and make my rank and influence strongly count for better scouting and for the better citizenship in my troop, in my community, and in my contact with other people, regardless of race, color, or creed. To this, I pledge my sacred honor. Careful examination has been made by the court as to the qualifications of this applicant for the Eagle Scout Award. Proficiency in the various crafts and skills prescribed for the Eagle Scout rank has been checked, and the records of merit badges earned by the Scout have been approved and certified by the counselors appointed by the court. Eagle Scout candidate Nick Jones has demonstrated his capacity and willingness to exert leadership in activities that are constructive and worthwhile in this community. The record has been checked in the troop leadership, school affairs, and in other fields of work and service. He has demonstrated loyalty and duty to God and country. We believe that he is qualified to receive the rank of Eagle Scout.
This is the voice of the Eagle. I speak for the Eagle Scouts of this council. We challenge the Scouts to accept the responsibilities as well as the honor of the Eagle Scout Award. These responsibilities are as follows. An Eagle Scout is to live with honor. Their honor is sacred. It is the foundation of all character. An Eagle Scout will live so that they reflect credit upon their home, place of worship, school, friends, and self. May the white of your badge remind you to live with honor. An Eagle Scout is to be loyal. To thine own self be true, and it must follow, as the night and the day. Thou canst not then be false to any man. Neither gain nor profit, pride nor personal loss shall sway your will. The blue on your badge is the emblem of oil. An Eagle Scout is to be courageous. Courage gives all character force and strength. With trust in God and faith in their fellow men, they face each day unafraid and seek their share of the world's work to do. Let the red of your badge remind you of courage. Finally, the Eagle Scout is service-oriented. Extend a helping hand to those who toil along the scouting trail that you have completed, just as others have aided you. The day of good turn has taken on a new meaning and better the life pattern of service. Protect and defend the weak and helpless. Comfort the unfortunate and oppressed. Uphold the rights of others as well as your own. Remember, real leadership is founded upon real service.
In recognition of these obligations, I ask you to reaffirm the Scout Oath or promise.
On my honor, I'll do my best to do my duty, God and my country, to obey the Scout law, to help other people at all times, to keep myself physically strong, mentally awake, and morally straight.
Would Nick's parents, Kurt and Lori Jones, please come to the front? Nick, we now proclaim to all the world your accomplishments. The symbol of your success is the Eagle Scout badge and neckerchief, which will now be presented to your parents. Your parents will, in turn, pin the badge over your heart and place a neckerchief around your neck. In recognition of the wisdom and guidance given to you by your father, please present to him this eagle pin, which he will be proud to wear in your honor. And now, also in recognition of the many hours of patient guidance given by her in your efforts, you will pin the Eagle Mother's pin over your mother's heart. Yes. Nick, please escort your mother back to her seat and then return to the front.
Hi, everybody. So, as most of you know, I used to be Scoutmaster of the troop, and Nick and I had gone back and forth a few times of who was going to do the ceremony. So I decided it would be nice to come as a parent and wear my suit instead of my uniform and watch from the audience. But I gotta say something. So I'm going to go start off where I wrote this, because that's the easiest way for me to get into it. Nick was very hesitant about me speaking at his Eagle Court. He was concerned that I might get too emotional. Imagine, after 18 years, he doesn't know me enough to know that I don't get emotional. After much consideration and promising him I would keep things lighthearted, Nick granted me permission to speak. I'll do my best. Well, Nick, here we are. We started this trail when you were first joined Cub Scouts in first grade, about 12 years ago. In Cub Scouts, it was a family commitment all the way. We went to meetings together, and we went to go see it together. As a family sometimes, but always with at least one parent. We built pinewood derby cars together. The whole family got involved there as well. You always designed them by drawing a picture of what you wanted. You and I worked together with saws, chisels, and sanders, carving out the car. You painted. After you went to bed, I repainted. Mom manned the tuba graphite. She always knew just the right amount. Amanda would have her car for the sibling race. Some won, some lost, but they all looked cool. As Cub Scouts came to an end, and we went to visit Troop 29 for your Arrow of Light requirement, you went with the Scouts, and I went with Mr. Bellevue. Mr. Bellevue had a real convincing speech about scouting that included the dangers of the sun, the rain, the snow, ticks, chipmunks, raccoons, bears, and oh yeah, there was a skunk stories thrown in there too. He didn't even get into the outhouse situation. I knew immediately this was not for us. You came out of your main meeting grinning ear to ear, and you won. As you started Boy Scouts, I quickly realized that this was your endeavor. You learned the Scout Oath, Law, Outdoor Code. You almost immediately went to your first Scout summer camp without us. Nick was a great swimmer, and passing the swimming test was a breeze. We assumed the swimming merit badge would be a walk in the park. Unfortunately, that year, Nick's favorite TV show was River Monsters. After the swim test and Nick's first experience with lake water, he never got back in the water that week. But a Scout is brave, and a few weeks later, we returned. He got in the water and finished the merit badge. You went on almost every camp out, learned to cook, in the woods anyway, and clean your gear, if you call that clean. You came home filthy a few times. You learned to do what boys do. And as parents, we gasped a couple of times, but mostly we were proud. You impressed the adult leaders and were appointed patrol leader in your second year as a Scout. Then Den Chief, Assistant Senior Patrol Leader, and finally Junior Assistant Scoutmaster. You have gone through every aspect of scouting, from learning to demonstrating what you learned, and then through leadership you taught others. It was all you. Now we are all here to celebrate your accomplishing the rank of Eagle. You did it. I always said that earning the Eagle rank was not a big deal, and the most important thing was getting the most out of the program. Well, find my page. I still believe that there is nothing more important than getting the most out of the program, but I was wrong. It is a big deal. Please let me be the first to congratulate you on earning your Eagle rank. Thank you for letting me come along for the ride.
Now, would the audience please rise? By virtue of the authority vested in me by the National Council of Boy Scouts of America, I hereby present to you our newest Eagle Scout. Let's give him a round of applause. At this time, I would like to invite Nick to say a few words about his scouting experience.
So I told my dad not to get emotional. I never said I wouldn't. So before I begin, I would like to personally thank everyone here for coming today. And I would told you. I would especially like to thank those that have helped me on my journey to the rank of Eagle. I would not be standing here without each and every one of you. Thank you, Dad, for that. When I first received a flyer advertising Cub Scout Pack 432, I knew immediately that I wanted to join scouting. I mean, come on. We could build little wooden cars and race them down a track. That's all I could have asked for at the age of 5. The pack hosted a Thanksgiving campout each year, group bike rides, and trips to the local fire and police departments. I had a blast in my 5 years as a Cub Scout, but at the start of my 5th year, I was unsure about going on to Boy Scouts because I was told that it was much harder and less fun than Cub Scouts. However, a life scout from Troop 29 that visited our pack quickly changed my mind. He taught us basic scout skills such as knot tying, fire building, and first aid. He showed us pictures of him and other scouts climbing on towers they had built from some long branches and rope. We were taught the Scout Oath, Law, and Outdoor Code. That Life Scout soon became an Eagle Scout. Though, unfortunately, he could not be here today, I would like to present Daniel Rosborg with my first of 2 mentor pins. So, since Dan is not here, I would like to call up his brother, Mitchell Rosborg, to receive the pen. So before I knew it, I was part of Troop 29, and in April of 2011, I attended my first camp out as a Boy Scout, the spring camporee at Camp Sequoias. I expected that since it was late April, it should be warm, so I decided not to bring a hat, or gloves, or really anything more than a light jacket. However, because we're in New England, I froze. Ever since then, I've kept the Scout motto, "Be prepared," burned into my brain. A couple of years after joining the troop, I followed in Daniel's footsteps and became a den chief, and visited my old pack and taught them the same things Dan taught me, though my stories were never as fascinating as his. 2 of the scouts that I met there are here today, Seth Anderson and Ian Newman. Seth is one of the funniest people I've ever met, though sometimes he may take things a little too far. Stop putting bottle drive flyers on my truck! Ian takes things a little more seriously. Ian is now a Star Scout and has advanced through the ranks much faster than I did. or anyone from my age group did. It wouldn't surprise me at all if Ian broke the recent troop record for most merit badges earned, which currently stands at 43. I was 3 short. So after spending a year as den chief, I began to take on more and more leadership roles in the troop. I became the patrol leader of the famous Indian Patrol, or infamous, depending on how you look at it. Just don't leave any cookies lying around near any former Indians. This was my first real introduction to leadership, and based on constructive, or sometimes destructive, criticism from my fellow scouts, I wasn't very good at it. However, I watched other scouts and learned from them to improve my leadership. The following year, I ran for senior patrol leader. However, I lost the election to another Eagle Scout that is here today, Matt Gerard. And I became the assistant senior patrol leader, which may have been a good thing because I learned even more about leadership from the SPL at the time, as I said, Matt Gerard, which made my term as SPL the following year much better and much easier. Once I finished my term as SPL, all that was left was to become a junior assistant scoutmaster, which I did for a year and a half before becoming an adult assistant scoutmaster. At that point, a scout is technically no longer part of a specific patrol. The job description is basically help out where you can and teach the scouts, and to eat with the adults and watch the scouts struggle to produce something edible. And to sample the scouts' food when they happen to make something good. When it came time for me to begin my Eagle Scout project, I had to choose a project coach. The project coach is a member of the troop, usually a scoutmaster, who helps the Eagle candidate plan and carry out their project. With a project plan as large as mine, I knew I would need all the help I could get. At one of the meetings, I approached Mr. Ayotte and asked him if he would be my project coach. I couldn't think of anyone better to choose, no offense to the rest of the leaders, especially since he is an Eagle Scout himself. Fortunately, he agreed, because my project would not have been as much of a success as it was without his help. Mr. Ayotte not only taught me how to put my ideas on paper in a way that was professional and organized, he taught me how to work with my scout and adult volunteers as well. He taught me to step aside and supervise rather than jump in and try to do everything myself. As a token of my appreciation for his help and guidance, I'd like to present my second mentor pin to Mr. Ayotte. However, Mr. Ayotte could not make it here today either, and I don't have someone to present it to, so I will hold on to that until our next meeting. So before I close, there's a special group of people, here we go again, that I would like to thank for all their support throughout my life. And that is my family. One second. I'd like to start with my mom and dad, the driving forces behind my success, and, pardon my French, the boots in the ass when progress was slow. Without you, I wouldn't be where I am today. I love you both very much. I can't thank you for everything you do. Now, if I've teared up this much this far, there's no way I'm making it through this next part. Michael, could you come up and read this for me?
There's one family member who I would especially like to thank for all of his support. That is my great uncle, who we affectionately call Uncle Buddy. Uncle Buddy couldn't be here today. Unfortunately, he passed away in February, along with my parents, who's one of the biggest supporters of my scouting career. I didn't need him to write a letter of recommendation for me for Eagle Scout, but he wrote one anyway. Almost a year to the day before I became an Eagle Scout, he gave me a shirt that read, "All men are created equal, then a few become Eagle Scouts." Uncle Buddy knew he wouldn't be here to see this day, but he knew it would come. We felt it fitting that we honor him here today by bringing the flag presented to my mother by the U.S. Navy and putting it on display in the hall. Uncle Buddy, thank you.
Now that I have mostly regained my composure, well, I could probably keep talking about my scouting career and those that have influenced it forever. But this speech is the last thing standing between all of you and the meal that is waiting in the hall. And I don't know about you, but I'm starving. So I'm going to end this here. I would like to thank all of you for coming once again, and I will now turn the proceedings back over to Mr. George.
Nick, the process of earning one's Eagle Scout Award does not end with this ceremony. I have confidence that you will honor scouting with your life and service as today's scouting has honored you. The eagle soars high and seeks to rest only upon the lofty peaks. As an Eagle Scout, you too must soar high. You must not swerve from the path of duty. You must strive to obtain that which is the highest and noblest in life. Well, Nick, I know you're hungry, but you didn't think I was going to end this without saying a little something. So I will try to keep this short, but I wanted to share a few things that I've observed over the years. One of the rewards that we get as leaders out of scouting is to actually watch the scouts come into the program as boys and actually leave as young men. I've been involved with Troop 29 for just as long as Nick has been. And it's been my pleasure to watch him grow through the years from a fifth grader into the fine young man that he is today. I was there when he went on his first camp out at Sequoia, and when it was cold that night, I too remember. And I was also there on his last camp out, and probably almost on every one in between. I've watched Nick work his way up through the ranks, growing, learning, and making friendships along the way. I mentioned friendships. One thing that I've noticed is the strong bond that he has with his dad. They're like two best friends. One thing I've learned about Nick is when he has an interest and wants to do something, there is no stopping him. He puts all his efforts into it. When I first met Nick, his interest was monster trucks. He was so into it, he knew all the names of the trucks, all the drivers, and I think he saw just about every show along the East Coast. As he got older, his interest in motorsports remained, but then I noticed it became something faster, NASCAR. And again, like monster trucks, Nick knew all the cars and all the drivers. I'm sure he has quite a die-cast car collection too. Several years ago, Kurt, Nick, and my sons and I went to a NASCAR race, and I know by the end of the weekend he purchased several cars, and I can guarantee you that Kurt's wallet weighed much less at the end of that trip. And I think, as you know, Nick's interest in cars remains strong. I'm pretty sure he can name every car that was ever made. Last year I was very impressed on our way back from summer camp. Traveling in the opposite direction, we passed, I think, maybe over 100 cars, exotic cars, and Nick knew everything about the cars. We got all the specs on the cars, and he even knew how much the price tag was. Not only is Nick passionate about his interest, he's very competitive. Though I have not seen him race go-karts, I'm sure he is very competitive on the track. Although I have seen him race Forza on the Xbox, and yes, he is competitive. Other times I've seen this competitiveness is playing the alphabet game in the car while traveling to and from scout trips. I thought I was pretty good at the game, usually having some advantage being the driver and being able to sit up front. But I have yet to beat Nick at a game. But Nick's knowledge of cars certainly gives him the advantage, and I think his younger eyes as well. If any of you have ever played the game, you know there are certain letters that are just hard to find. I think the most memorable moment playing the game is when Nick had one of those hard to find letters, the letter Y. We were in a somewhat rural area. It was some time since anyone found a letter, and then suddenly Nick just said, "I'll grab me a Yingling." Remember that one, Nick? Well, you got 3 more years. Shocked at first, then I realized he was just reading it off a sign in a store window. Although I could tell many more stories and talk more about Nick's journey through scouting, I would like to congratulate you, Nick, on your achievement as an Eagle Scout. I have no doubts that you will succeed in your next step in life as you start college this fall. Once again, congratulations on the achievement of Eagle Scout. By the authority vested in me as a representative of Troop 29, I declare that this Court of Honor is now complete. Mr. Miskell, will you close the meeting?
I should. Thank you. Will everyone please rise? Color guard, please retire the colors. Scout salute or hand over heart. Meeting is now adjourned. Everyone's favorite words, you may now eat.